Do you know why a ship floats and a stone cannot?
So the Rings of Power Season 2 is going to be coming out at the end of August, and like many of you, I couldn't be more excited. But what's even more exciting is that I've received a great deal of insider information pertaining to Season 2 that no one else knows about yet, and I'm going to be sharing everything I know with you in this video. Of course, all of my contacts within the industry will remain anonymous, but I can assure you that the information I have to tell you is 100% accurate. Amazon wouldn't want these leaks to get out before the show premieres, but these details about Season 2 are just too incredible to keep under wraps. With that being said, there will be major spoilers in this about Season 2. So if you don't want to be spoiled and would like to experience everything firsthand, then you might want to skip this video. Of course, before we get into all that, if you're a fan of my content and would like to help support the channel, then do please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe buttons, as well as hitting the bell icon to be notified whenever my new videos drop. It's completely free, and all you have to do is make a YouTube account, which is also free. I cover movies, TV shows, anime, and a little bit of gaming from time to time as well. I try to upload at least once a week, and my goal this year is to reach 1,000 subs and get monetized on YouTube. And with your help and support, I believe I can do it. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into the video.
Past feeling?
No. This place is so evil, our torches give off no warmth.
In order to go over what we know so far, as well as the secret leaks that I've been informed of, I think the easiest way to go about it is to just go through the most recent trailer for Season 2. I'll explain everything that I know is happening, as well as the things behind the scenes that the trailer doesn't tell you. So, starting off at the beginning, we see Halbrand, who in Season 1 was revealed to be Sauron, walking through what looked like to be the awakened land of Mordor, while we hear a voice over from Durin the Fourth saying, "An evil, ancient and powerful has returned." Now, although many viewers might think that this refers to Sauron, right after this scene we see a glimpse at a black symbiotic creature crawling on the ground. It's this strange creature that Durin the Fourth is actually referring to. But what is it? Well, what the public hasn't been made aware of yet is that there has been a secret talk between Amazon Studios and Sony behind the scenes, and through a contractual agreement, Amazon has been allowed to use the rights to several Sony-owned characters. That's right, everyone. This great evil and the main antagonist in the Rings of Power Season 2 is none other than Venom from the Spider-Man universe. Now, we don't know exactly how the Rings of Power will introduce the multiverse, but we know that this Venom is the one that existed before the events that led him to fall to the earth and receive the humanoid host of Eddie Brock. Next up, we have Galadriel teaming up with a group of 4 elves, one of which is Elrond, wielding swords, bows, and daggers, facing off against a group of Borrowites located inside of the Borrow Downs. These creatures are bones of Anorians, haunted by the spirits sent by the Witch King. The Borrowites are seen in the Third Age and are closely tied to the events of Tom Bombadil, but in the Rings of Power Season 2, Galadriel and Elrond use a Palantir to travel forward in time and seek Tom Bombadil's help. Next, we have a female character who has cut her palms, followed by a shot of a swarm of some kind, which has to do with the 3 women sorcerers we saw in Season 1. In this new season, we learn that these women are a part of what's called the Order of Magical Lesbians, and I'm happy to say that the famous rapper Eminem will be reprising his role as the leader of this order. Next, we see a shot of tree roots moving across the ground, and when looking at the lamps in the background, we can tell that this takes place in Lindon. We see someone walking up, which is believed to be Celebrimbor. Much like in Season 1, Celebrimbor will be struggling with his gender identity and will be transitioning no less than 17 times in Season 2. This shot is depicting a vision that Sauron is giving Celebrimbor, and it will cause him to question his identity. We hear a voiceover saying, "He worms his way inside your mind. The rest of him slivers in." This, of course, referring to Sauron. I'm also very happy to report that Season 2 will indeed incorporate the use of pronouns with many of the characters, and so those who were worried about that, you can rest easy, my friends. Next, we see a force of orcs moving through the forest. Unfortunately, I wasn't given much information on them, but my guess is that they could be working for Sauron and moving toward Eregion to make war. One thing to take note of is in the background, we do see a troll, which has been verified to be played by the popular singer Lizzo. Next, we see Celebrimbor in Lindon, shielding his eyes from a fiery light that he believes is coming from Sauron. This scene, however, is used to trick the viewer, as well as Celebrimbor, in mistaking this is Sauron, as it has much of the same imagery we see in the Peter Jackson films. However, something entirely different is going on. You see, just a few hours earlier, Durin the Fourth and his wife Disa are invited to Lindon as guests and have a royal dinner with Celebrimbor and Elrond. During the dinner, Disa ate an entire large container of pork and beans, and this shot is happening after the dinner, as Disa releases some flatulence, accidentally of course, in Celebrimbor's direction, and he mistakes what he sees as the coming of the Dark Lord. What caused Disa to lose her composure and erupt with that amount of gas was her picking up a palantir, the same palantir that Galadriel and Elrond will use to go into the future and face off against the Borrowites. This shot with Disa can be seen in the behind-the-scenes footage, which I'll slow down a bit so that you can see the full context. In the next shot, we see Halbrand in his Anatar form, walking through Eregion. From the leaks that I've heard, it was discussed behind the scenes to hire a new actor for Sauron's Anatar form, but after they placed a wig on Charlie Vickers, it was obvious that Anatar and Halbrand were two completely different people. Now we see the premiere reveal date, which is August 29th. Next, we get two shots of Galadriel on horseback, riding with an unknown figure. This unknown person is actually the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe, who Galadriel teams up with in order to beat the symbiote Venom. Then we get a shot of a woman drowning herself in water. This is Mariel, and taken with the next shot, which shows a giant sea creature, is her having a vision, much like the vision she saw in Season 1 of a great wave that drowned the city of Numenor. Next, we hear a voiceover saying, "Every soul in Middle-earth is in peril." We get a shot of Disa turning to the camera, which takes place just after that dinner that she ate a large container of pork and beans. Next, a shot of Durin the Third looking up through a hole in the rock, followed by a great stone thrown at a bridge located inside of Khazad-dûm. This is the Balrog that we saw in Season 1. During the end of this shot, we see a shadow cross over the bridge, and of course, a Balrog is described as a demon of shadow and flame. In The Lord of the Rings, Durin's Bane is also described as having wings of shadow. Even though Durin's Bane isn't supposed to wake up until 2,000 or so years into the Third Age, once Galadriel and Elrond travel into the future to seek Tom Bombadil's help, they accidentally leave a rift open in time. It's through this rift that the Balrog of the Lord of the Rings movies travels back in time to wake up his younger self. The two of them converse in the ancient tongue of the Black Speech and have a conversation about climate change, and then both of them descend on the dwarves of Khazad-dûm as they see them as hurting the planet. That's right, everyone, we're not only getting one Balrog, but two of them in this second season. Next, we get a quick shot of Elendil reaching for someone, followed by a quick shot of Galadriel reaching out her hand as well. As I can't speak about the first shot, I do have information on the second one. Apparently, this shot of Galadriel is her inside of Hell, making a secret pact with Lucifer. Next up, we have a shot of an orc enjoying himself as he licks some blood off of a knife. And then we see a shot of the camera flying over Eregion, and the text on screen reads, "Darkness will bind them," followed by a shot of the three elven rings. Ninya, wielded by Galadriel; Vilya, the Ring of Air, held by High King Gil-Galad; and Narya, the Ring of Fire, which is held by Círdan the Shipwright. A fun fact, Círdan is the only known elf to have a beard in Tolkien's mythology. However, in Season 2 of The Rings of Power, Círdan will be a woman played by Brie Larson. We see a shot of the tree and linden, and after seeing the elven rings of power, we get a shot of the dwarven ring of power, and this is followed by a scene of Arondir bursting out of a carriage, twirling in the air and landing on his feet with his bow drawn. He's notably traveling with Isildur, who was presumed dead after Season 1. The two of them meet on the road and quickly become lovers. I think now would also be a good time to tell you one of the best things about Season 2 is an incredible amount of LGBTQQIAAP representation. I'm not sure of all the details, but I have been made aware that the following characters have been made gay: Arondir, Isildur, Elrond, Galadriel, Gil-Galad, Adar, the orcs following Adar, Miriel, Pharazôn, all of the elves in Lindon, Elendil, the stranger also known as Gandalf, all of the Harfoots, the wildlife in the forest, and Sauron, with notable characters like Celebrimbor, as well as others consistently transitioning multiple times throughout the season. Bronwyn, although she dies early on, is a member of the intersex community. Disa is bisexual. Eminem is a member of the asexual community, while Venom and the Green Goblin are both pansexual. I am a bit disappointed that Emma Harfoth's character Erwin was not included to represent the LGBTQQIAAP, as I feel there could have been a bit more inclusivity in this second season, but I suppose we can still hope for a change in Season 3. Next up, in the teaser trailer, we see our first look at the Great Eagles of Númenor, who I forgot to mention are bisexual. The royal eagle swoops into the Hall of Númenor and lands as we see Pharazôn standing in front of the eagle and drawing his sword. In the books, we know about great eagles of Manwë that dwelt in Númenor. Two are even have said to have lived within the king's house of Armenelos, as well as eagles living atop Men Altarma, the holy mountain at the center of the island. Now, according to the books, the eagles of Arminelos have left by the time of Pharazôn because the Númenóreans have become hostile to the Valar. However, in the Rings of Power, the eagles we see are actually shapeshifters of the doppelganger race. Next up, we get a shot of Theo looking sad because Bronwyn, his mother, has died, and Isildur is looking up. This is followed by great balls of fire getting catapulted to the city Eregion, which is known as the Siege of Eregion. Unlike in the books, with the help of Sauron in his Anatar form, Venom attacks the city with an army of symbiotes controlling the bodies of undead elves. Next up is our first look at Adar, who is now played by Sam Hazeldine, and then our first look at the stranger in Season 2, standing by a well located in Rhûn. He strikes the ground and dust flies everywhere. We don't see any Harfoots in this entire trailer, although from what I've heard, later on during the season, we will be seeing them again and exploring different aspects of their culture, namely the cannibalistic elements of it. And now, we come to a series of quick shots that round out the end of the trailer. We see Galadriel shooting double fire arrows, which does take place in the future, followed by a shot of orcs getting burned alive. Then we see a great battle that takes place toward the end of Season 2, which shows us Elrond charging forth with his men. Next, we see a very interesting shot as Celebrimbor throwing several rings into a fire. As you can see, he's quite distressed and looks beaten up a bit, and what we're actually witnessing is another one of his inner struggles with his gender identity. He destroys the rings as a masculine spirit sent from Sauron takes over his mind and tries to push out the middle-aged grandmother persona that we saw in Season 1. The next shot, we see Anatar surrounded by the elves with swords drawn against him. We see Celebrimbor, now believing he's a tri-gender dolphin, holding what looks like a mangled hand. Anatar flicks his hands, and we see in slow motion all of the elves turning their blades on one another. This is because Sauron, who is Anatar, has casted a 5th level enchantment spell called Dominate Person. Being originally one of the mightiest Maya, he could cast Dominate Person as a bonus action that didn't require concentration, and he could do this up to 12 times per turn. In the last few shots, we get a great explosion, which takes place in that first fortress that we saw in Season 1, the one where Galadriel defeated the troll and was super evil. This is that fortress before it turned super evil, and the great flash of light was another instance of Disa eating too many pork and beans and then losing control of her flatulence. This is followed by the title reveal in gold, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, new season August 29th. And that wraps up all that we know of Season 2, as well as all the inside information that I've been secretly given that hasn't been released to the public yet. I know there were many things in this video that you probably weren't expecting, but you can trust my word that everything in this video is as trustworthy as any mainstream news source. So, if you like the video and would like to support the channel, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Are you excited to see the representation and inclusivity in Season 2? Do you think Season 2 will be as good as Season 1? Let me know your thoughts, and of course, as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great freaking day.